Here's something the headlines aren't telling you. The ceasefire in the Strait of Hormuz isn't a pause. It's a pressure test. And right now that pressure is about to crack something open. Let's start with what happened in the last 24 hours because the sequence matters more than any single event. First, U.S. naval forces intercepted and seized the MT Majestic X, a stateless tanker operating in Iran's shadow fleet, flagged to no nation, loyal to one purpose, moving Iranian crude past the blockade. This wasn't random, it was surgical. Under Operation Epic Fury, the naval cordon around Iranian ports has been tightening like a vice, and this seizure is another turn of the handle. But here's where it gets complicated. The same day, IRGC fast attack boats, those small, agile, heavily armed speedboats that Iran has relied on for decades, moved on commercial shipping. They fired on 3 vessels, seized 2. The third, they just let it drift, disabled, abandoned at sea. Iranian state media broadcast footage of their masked IRGC commandos boarding one of those ships like it was a trophy, like it was a victory. Think about what that framing actually reveals. When your response to a naval blockade is to board a cargo ship and film it for state television, you're not winning, you're performing. You're showing your own population that you still have teeth. That's a psychological operation directed inward, not outward. Iran's leadership knows the balance of power in the strait. The footage wasn't for the U.S. Navy. It was for 85 million Iranians watching state TV. And then came the statement that changed the entire trajectory of this standoff. President Trump issued a direct order, and I'll paraphrase the core of it because the language is unambiguous. Any vessel caught laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz is to be engaged immediately and destroyed. No hesitation, no warning. Mine-sweeping operations already underway are being tripled. The message isn't diplomatic, it's operational. This is important. Here's why. Iran's conventional naval force, those 159 surface warships, is already gone, sitting at the bottom of the strait. What Iran has left is asymmetric. Hundreds of fast attack craft, small mine-laying vessels, proxy tactics refined over 40 years of doctrine, built around the idea that you don't need to beat the U.S. Navy, you just need to make the strait unusable. Mines are the perfect instrument for that. Cheap, deniable, devastating. A single mine can disable a supertanker worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Scatter enough of them across a choke point, and you don't sink ships. You stop them. You stop the flow. You stop the global oil market from functioning normally. That's the real threat here. Not a naval battle. Chaos. And Trump just told Iran, we know what you're planning, and we will kill every boat that tries it. Now let's talk about why the U.S. actually has the tools to back that up. Because this is where the analysis gets specific. The backbone of the blockade is the Arleigh Burke class destroyer. You've seen it operating in the region. It's not just a warship, it's a mobile command center with layered radar, anti-ship missiles, and an ability to coordinate assets across air, surface, and subsurface simultaneously. But the destroyer is really just the visible layer. Underneath, there are submarines. Silent, persistent, capable of ISR, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, at depths and distances nothing in the IRGC fleet can match or even detect. Those submarines are watching Iranian port activity right now. They know which vessels are being loaded with mines. They're feeding that data up the chain in real time. Above the waterline, MQ-9 Reaper drones are maintaining continuous overwatch. We're not talking about a few passes. We're talking 24+ hours of station time. The Reaper carries laser designators, which means it doesn't even have to be the one that pulls the trigger. It can paint a target and hand it off to an F-35, an A-10, or an F-15E. The aircraft changes. The targeting data doesn't. And this is the part that matters for mine-laying boats specifically. The A-10 Warthog's GAU-8 Avenger cannon fires depleted uranium at nearly 4,000 rounds per minute. A single attack pass over a fast boat or mine-laying vessel doesn't damage it, it erases it. Fiberglass and aluminum don't survive depleted uranium. The physics are brutally one-sided. The F-15E Strike Eagle adds another dimension. Precision munitions. Small diameter bombs, 250-pound warheads, can be dropped at standoff range with enough accuracy to hit individual vessels without collateral spread. And the Strike Eagle's speed and sensor suite keep it well outside the range of anything Iran has recently introduced to the theater. What they've called advanced battlefield systems, which may include new man-portable air defense systems, or MANPADS. Then there's the emerging technology layer, and this is where it gets quietly significant. The Manta Ray is an extra-large, unmanned underwater vehicle designed for extended ISR missions. It can loiter beneath the surface for weeks, completely passive, completely invisible, watching. The Lamprey is a complementary autonomous glider, longer endurance, mine detection capability, able to support clearance operations with zero risk to human crews. Whether those systems are already deployed in the Strait of Hormuz is officially unknown, but this is exactly the kind of scenario they were built for. So here's the strategic picture assembled. Iran is losing $500 million a day to this blockade. That number compounds. Their ability to fund operations, maintain equipment, pay proxies, it all degrades with time. The fast attack fleet they're counting on isn't being replenished. Every vessel lost is a capability that doesn't come back quickly under sanctions-era resource constraints. Meanwhile, Iranian leadership is calling the blockade bullying that has failed. Here's the contradiction worth noting. If the blockade had failed, they wouldn't be deploying commandos to film ship seizures. They wouldn't be threatening mine warfare. They would simply be continuing to export oil. The very escalation we're watching is the clearest signal that the economic pressure is working, and working faster than Iranian officials are willing to admit publicly. The ceasefire extension is holding, technically. The U.S. has stated that Iran's seizure of commercial vessels doesn't breach the core terms because those ships weren't tied to American or Israeli interests. That's a deliberate reading. It keeps the door open without signaling weakness. But the shoot-to-kill order on mine-laying vessels is a different kind of signal. It's a boundary with consequences attached. If even one mine-laying boat gets struck in the coming hours, the rhetoric changes. Not immediately, but the psychological weight of losing that capability, visibly, publicly, shifts the internal calculus inside Tehran in ways that no diplomatic statement can. And that's the 4D chess element the Trump administration is playing here. Maximum pressure before negotiations. Force Iran to come to the table not from a position of defiance, but from a position of diminishing options. The blockade stays. The minesweeping triples. The shoot-to-kill order is standing, and Iran's leadership has to decide whether the cost of continued resistance is worth what they're losing every single day. The next few hours aren't just a military story. They're a negotiating move. Watch the Strait, because what happens there in the next 24 hours will tell you more about where this goes than anything said in any press conference.